For centuries, humanity knew the 7 deadly sins only as traditional religious concepts, but Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet, revealed a much deeper and more disturbing truth about these destructive forces. For him, these sins were not simply moral failings or common human weaknesses. They were devastating energy fields that corrode the very essence of the soul, creating fissures in the spirit and separating us from our original divine purpose. Prepare for a transformative journey through the darkest mysteries of human consciousness, where we will discover how these forces silently work within us. Imagine your soul as a luminous crystal, pulsating with divine energy and radiating pure light in all directions. Now visualize what happens when anger explodes within your being like an erupting volcano. According to Edgar Cayce, each moment of uncontrolled anger creates deep cracks in this sacred crystal, allowing dark and destructive forces to penetrate your spiritual essence. Anger is not just a passing emotional outburst that harms relationships or causes momentary regrets. Edgar Cayce revealed that anger acts like a negative magnetic field that attracts low-vibrational entities and energies to us. When we explode in rage, we create an energetic storm around us that remains active long after the emotional outburst. This storm forms invisible currents of destructive energy that trap our consciousness in vicious cycles of pain, resentment, and even more anger. It's as if we create our own vibrational prison, where we become prisoners of our own uncontrolled emotions. The most frightening thing about anger is its ability to feed on itself, growing like a monster that devours our inner peace. Each time we give in to anger, we strengthen these destructive energetic patterns within our soul, creating deep grooves in our consciousness. These grooves become automatic pathways through which our vital energy drains, leaving us exhausted, bitter, and increasingly distant from our original divine nature. Anger becomes a vampire-like force that drains our spiritual vitality and keeps us trapped in ever lower frequencies. Cayce taught that mastering anger is not simply a matter of self-control or superficial mental discipline. It is a spiritual battle for the very freedom of the soul, an epic struggle between light and darkness within our being. When we learn to transform the energy of anger into understanding and forgiveness, we not only free ourselves from the vibrational chains that imprison us, we raise our energetic frequency and reconnect our soul with the higher dimensions of light and unconditional love. Transforming anger requires a deep understanding that behind every outburst of anger lies an unhealed wound in the soul. These wounds are like portals through which destructive forces gain access to our inner world. When we heal these wounds through genuine forgiveness and true compassion, we close these portals and restore our energetic integrity. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is the most transformative power there is, capable of transmuting the lead of anger into the pure gold of spiritual wisdom. Remember that every moment we choose peace over anger, we are strengthening the spiritual muscles of our soul. We are building a fortress of light around our being, a protective shield that not only defends us from external negative energies. This shield becomes a beacon of light that radiates peace and harmony to everyone around us, transforming not only our own lives, but also positively influencing the entire collective energy field of humanity. Before we move on, we want to feel the power of your presence. Comment below your name and from which city, state, or country are you watching us. Let's map this current of light and show how far our message is reaching. Write in the comments and let's expand this energy together. Within every soul lies a unique divine spark, a fragment of the universe's creative light pulsating with infinite purpose and potential. This spark carries within it the perfect plan your soul chose before even incarnating into this physical world. It is like a cosmic seed that contains the entire blueprint for your spiritual fulfillment, all the experiences you need to live, and all the gifts you came to manifest. But there is a dark, silent force that can extinguish this sacred light: envy. Edgar Cayce revealed that envy is much more than an unpleasant feeling of wanting what belongs to another. It is a spiritual poison that infiltrates the deepest layers of consciousness, corroding the very foundation of our self-esteem and sense of divine purpose. When we envy someone, we are essentially denying the unique and perfect plan our soul has laid out for this incarnation. It's as if we are telling the universe that God made a mistake in creating us as we are, in giving us the gifts we have and the experiences we have. Envy acts as an energetic blocker, impeding the natural flow of the soul's creative energy through our being. Imagine a crystal-clear river flowing freely, carrying life and nourishment to the surrounding landscape. Now imagine someone damming this river, interrupting its natural flow and creating stagnant water. This is exactly what envy does to our creative energy. It creates blocks that prevent our soul from manifesting its true potential in the physical world. The most tragic thing about envy is that it disconnects us from the infinite abundance of the universe, creating a mindset of scarcity where we believe there is only a limited amount of blessings for everyone. Cayce taught that this is a devastating illusion because on the spiritual plane, there is infinite abundance for all beings. When we envy, we are operating from the fear that there is not enough love, success, happiness, or prosperity for everyone. This fear becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that effectively blocks our ability to receive the blessings the universe wants to pour into our lives. The cure for envy begins with the sacred recognition that every soul is absolutely unique in the entire cosmos. You are the sole expression of God, exactly as you are, with your specific gifts, your particular challenges, and your unique path of spiritual evolution. No one in the entire universe can do what you came to do. No one can express the divine light in the exact way you do. When we understand this truth deeply, envy simply makes no sense anymore. Transforming envy into sacred gratitude is one of the most powerful spiritual alchemies there is. When we begin to genuinely celebrate the successes and blessings of others, something magical happens. We open energetic channels that allow similar blessings to flow into our own lives. Gratitude for the gifts of others becomes a magnet that attracts abundance to ourselves. It's as if the universe recognizes our spiritual maturity in celebrating the light of others and responds by sending even more light into our own lives. We live in a world of fascinating contrasts, where our immortal soul temporarily inhabits a physical body that experiences hunger, thirst, pleasure, and all manner of material sensations. This marriage of spirit and matter is one of the most complex and challenging experiences of the human journey. Edgar Cayce revealed that gluttony represents much more than simply overeating or excessively seeking pleasure. It is a dangerous inversion of the natural order, where we allow the temporary physical body to dominate the eternal soul, creating invisible chains that imprison our consciousness in the denser dimensions of existence. Imagine your soul as a majestic bird, created to soar to celestial heights and contemplate the infinite vastness of the cosmos. Your physical body is like a temporary cage, necessary for you to have experiences on this material plane, but never intended to be your permanent prison. Gluttony occurs when we forget our spiritual nature and begin to believe that we are only this physical body, only these sensations, only these material desires. It's as if the bird becomes so accustomed to the cage that it completely forgets its ability to fly. Cayce taught that every time we choose to gratify bodily impulses over spiritual growth, we strengthen the chains that bind us to the denser planes of reality. These chains are invisible to the physical eye, but they are absolutely real in the energetic world where our soul operates. Every overeating, every compulsive pursuit of material pleasure, every moment in which the body dictates our decisions rather than the wisdom of the soul, adds more links to these spiritual chains that imprison us. The true danger of gluttony lies not in the damage it causes to the physical body, although this is evident and worrying. The mortal danger lies in the way it gradually erases our memory of who we truly are, infinite spiritual beings having a temporary experience in matter. When the soul becomes hostage to the desires of the body, we lose touch with our divine mission, our greater purpose, and the sacred reason we chose to incarnate at this particular moment in human history. Freeing ourselves from the prison of gluttony requires a conscious daily remembrance of our true spiritual nature. It's not about denying the body or repressing all its natural needs, as that would create another, equally damaging imbalance. It's about establishing the right order, the soul as the wise and loving commander, the body as the devoted and obedient servant. When the soul reclaims its place of leadership, it naturally chooses what nourishes both body and spirit. Sacred moderation then becomes a powerful spiritual practice, not a painful deprivation imposed from the outside in. It is the soul saying to the body, "I love you and will care for you wisely, giving you what you truly need to be healthy and vital, but I will not allow your uncontrolled desires to divert us from our divine purpose." This is true freedom, when the spirit leads with love and the body follows with gratitude, creating perfect harmony between the material and spiritual worlds. Within every soul lies a sacred impulse for growth, a creative force that constantly seeks expansion, evolution, and ever closer proximity to divine perfection. This impulse is like an internal river of vital energy that wants to flow, create, transform, and elevate both ourselves and everything around us. Edgar Cayce revealed that laziness is not simply a lack of physical energy or a tendency to avoid hard work. It is a fundamental resistance to this sacred impulse for growth, a refusal of the soul to fulfill its evolutionary mission in this incarnation. True spiritual laziness manifests when we consistently choose the path of least resistance, even when our soul is screaming for change and growth. It's that inner voice that says, "Tomorrow I'll start, then I'll change, later I'll transform," as days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and months into years of missed opportunities. Cayce taught that every moment of spiritual procrastination creates a kind of vibrational weight around our soul, like invisible chains that gradually pull us toward ever lower frequencies. This vibrational weight of laziness is particularly insidious because it operates silently and gradually. We don't notice its currents forming around us until one day we wake up and realize we've wasted entire years in stagnation, that our soul has become like a motionless lake where the pure water of divine inspiration has turned into a stagnant swamp. Laziness creates a dense energetic atmosphere around us that repels opportunities for growth and attracts more inertia and lethargy. The lazy soul gradually loses touch with its original divine purpose. It's as if it falls asleep to its own sacred mission, forgetting the gifts it came to develop, the people it came to help, the experiences it came to have to evolve spiritually. Cayce saw this as one of the deepest tragedies of human existence, an infinitely powerful and capable soul deliberately choosing mediocrity and stagnation over magnificence and continuous growth. The cure for spiritual laziness doesn't come through forced discipline or mental self-flagellation, as these approaches only create more internal resistance. True transformation happens when we reconnect our soul with its original passion, with the sacred fire that brought it to this incarnation. It's like rekindling a flame that never completely went out, merely covered by the ashes of inertia and discouragement. When we remember who we truly are and why we are here, discipline transforms into natural devotion. Authentic spiritual discipline is actually an act of profound self-love. It's the soul saying, "I love myself enough not to waste this precious opportunity to incarnate. I will honor the gifts I have been given by developing them to their fullest. I will embrace each challenge as a chance to grow and each obstacle as an opportunity to become stronger and wiser." When discipline is born of love rather than fear, it becomes a joyful and sustainable force that carries us through any resistance or difficulty. Have you ever caught yourself believing that your accomplishments, knowledge, or abilities make you superior to other human beings? This is one of the most seductive and dangerous illusions human consciousness can experience. Edgar Cayce revealed that pride represents the most devastating illusion of all, the belief that our small separate self is greater, more important, or more valuable than the cosmic unity of which we are a part. It's like a drop of water in the ocean, believing it is greater and more important than the infinite ocean that gives it existence. Pride acts as an invisible but impenetrable barrier that separates us from the natural flow of divine grace. When pride dominates our hearts, we create a kind of energetic island around ourselves, cutting off the subtle connections that connect us to the infinite source of love, wisdom, and power that permeates the entire universe. It's as if we build ever higher walls around our consciousness, until we become prisoners of our own imagined grandeur, isolated and alone in a world we've created with our own arrogance. The most tragic thing about pride is that it robs us of exactly what we desire most: genuine connection, true love, and authentic recognition. When we operate from pride, people may admire or fear us, but they rarely truly love us, for they instinctively sense the cold barrier we create around ourselves. Cayce taught that the proud soul becomes like an artificial sun that shines with a cold, distant light, rather than radiating the loving warmth that naturally emanates from a humble heart connected to the divine. Pride is especially dangerous for those who truly possess talents, knowledge, or significant achievements. It's easy for an ordinary person to recognize that they are not superior to others, but when someone truly possesses special gifts or has achieved remarkable success, the temptation to feel special or chosen can become almost irresistible. Cayce warned that the greater our gifts, the greater our responsibility to keep them in proper perspective, recognizing that we are merely channels through which universal intelligence expresses itself. True humility is not self-deprecation or denial of our talents and abilities. It is the joyful and grateful recognition that everything we are, everything we know, and everything we can accomplish comes from a source greater than our small, separate selves. It is like a tree that grows strong and majestic, but never forgets that its strength comes from the deep roots that connect it to the nourishing earth. Authentic humility makes us even more powerful, for it consciously connects us with the infinite power of the universe. When we choose humility over pride, something magical happens. We become clear channels through which divine grace can flow freely into the world. Our light becomes brighter, not because we're trying to impress anyone, but because there are no longer ego barriers blocking the light's passage. It's like the difference between a dirty bulb that barely emanates its light and a perfectly clean bulb that radiates pure radiance in all directions. Humility is the cleansing of the soul that allows our true spiritual magnificence to be seen and felt by all. In the cosmic fabric of existence, everything is in constant movement and perpetual flux. The entire universe is a symphony of energy that circulates, transforms, expands, and returns to its source in infinite cycles of creation and renewal. Edgar Cayce revealed that greed represents a fundamental violation of this cosmic law of circulation, a desperate attempt to interrupt the natural flow of abundance and accumulate stagnant energy around us. It is like trying to dam a powerful river. Temporarily, we may be able to accumulate a great quantity of water, but eventually the pressure becomes so great that the dam breaks and devastation is inevitable. The energy of money and material goods was created to be a medium of exchange, a way to facilitate the flow of resources and opportunities among all human beings. When functioning properly, money is like blood in the body. It needs to circulate constantly to maintain the health and vitality of the entire organism. Greed is like a blockage in humanity's financial arteries, creating zones of excessive accumulation in some places, while other areas suffer from scarcity and deprivation. This energetic stagnation not only harms society as a whole, but literally poisons the soul of those who hinder the flow. Cayce taught that there is an immutable spiritual law, that which does not circulate decays. This applies to all forms of energy, including money, love, knowledge, opportunities, and blessings. When we try to accumulate any form of energy beyond what we truly need, we create around us a magnetic field of fear and scarcity that repels the very thing we are trying to attract. It's a cruel paradox. The more we try to hold on, the more we lose. The more we try to accumulate out of fear of lack, the more we create the energetic conditions that will manifest that lack in our reality. The miser lives in a constant state of existential terror, always fearing there won't be enough for their survival or security. This fear becomes a distorted lens through which they view all of reality. Every opportunity to give becomes a threat of loss. Every need of others becomes an unacceptable demand on their resources. Cayce revealed that this fear of scarcity creates the very thing they fear most, but fear is a form of negative prayer that magnetizes to us the experiences we fear. The cure for greed begins with a radical shift in perspective, from fear of scarcity to trust in the infinite abundance of the universe. This is not superficial positive thinking, but a profound recognition of the truly abundant nature of spiritual reality. When we understand that we are beloved children of an infinitely generous universe, that our true source of security is our connection to the divine and not our material possessions, we begin to relax into trust and allow energy to flow naturally through us. Authentic generosity then becomes a spiritual practice that connects us directly with the cosmic flow of abundance. Every genuine act of giving, every gesture of sharing, every moment we choose to trust rather than withhold, opens energetic channels that allow even greater blessings to flow into our lives. It's as if the universe constantly tests our capacity to trust, and each time we pass the test, our cosmic trust limit increases. Generosity doesn't impoverish us, it connects us to the inexhaustible source of all true prosperity. Within every human being pulses one of the most powerful and sacred energies in the entire cosmos, the divine creative force. This is the same energy that created galaxies, that makes stars shine, that gives life to every form of existence in the universe. In the human body, this sacred force manifests itself through sexual energy, but its purpose goes far beyond physical reproduction or momentary pleasure. Edgar Cayce revealed that human sexual energy is a concentration of God's own creative force, intended not only to create new physical life, but to fuel our creativity, our spiritual vitality, and our capacity for sacred union with another human being. Lust represents a tragic distortion of this sacred energy, a diversion that transforms the most powerful force we possess into a destructive compulsion that drains our vitality rather than multiplying it. When sexual energy is directed solely toward the gratification of the physical senses, without connection to the heart, without respect for the sacredness of the other being, without awareness of its true divine nature, it becomes like a mighty river used only to power a broken mill. All that magnificent power is wasted on mechanical movements that produce nothing of lasting value. Cayce taught that every time we allow lust to dominate our relationship with sexual energy, we are literally wasting spiritual fuel that could be fueling our evolution, our creativity, our sacred relationships, and our ability to serve life's higher purposes. It's like taking precious diamonds and throwing them like ordinary stones into water. The gesture may provide a few seconds of superficial amusement, but it represents an incalculable waste of something truly valuable. Sexual energy, when experienced through lust, becomes addictive and insatiable. Like all experiences based solely on the gratification of the physical senses, it promised profound satisfaction, but delivered only temporary pleasure that soon turned into emptiness and a need for more. The lustful person becomes trapped in increasingly intense cycles of seeking and disappointment, always chasing a satisfaction that remains eternally out of reach. Their soul gradually loses touch with the capacity to experience true intimacy, genuine union, and sacred love. The transformation of lust into sacred love is one of the most beautiful and powerful spiritual alchemies a human being can achieve. When we learn to honor sexual energy as a divine force, when we experience it through the connection of the heart, and not just the senses, when we use it to create sacred union rather than selfish gratification, it becomes a direct portal to experiences of transcendence and spiritual ecstasy. Sacred love transforms sexual energy into fuel for the soul's evolution. In the sacred union between two souls who truly love each other, sexual energy becomes a river of light that elevates both partners to expanded states of consciousness and love. Rather than draining vitality, it multiplies it exponentially. Rather than creating separation and addiction, it generates deep union and lasting satisfaction. Rather than distancing the soul from God, it becomes a form of bodily prayer that brings both lovers closer to the direct experience of divine love. This is the difference between lust that destroys and sacred love that elevates. One consumes, the other transforms. Edgar Cayce revealed a disturbing truth about the interconnected nature of the 7 deadly sins. They never operate in isolation, but rather form a dark and complex network of mutual influences that feed and reinforce each other in vicious cycles of spiritual self-destruction. It's like a system of diabolical gears, where the movement of one inevitably triggers the others, creating a relentless machine of soul imprisonment. The discovery of this hidden mechanism is both frightening and liberating, for when we understand how it works, we also discover the keys to dismantling it completely. Note how envy can generate anger. When we envy someone, we create resentment that easily explodes into rage against the envied person or ourselves. This anger, in turn, can fuel arrogance as wounded pride seeks ways to feel superior again. Arrogance can then lead to greed, when the inflated ego decides it deserves more than it has and begins to compulsively accumulate goods and resources. Greed fuels gluttony, as excessive attachment to material things expands to include all kinds of excesses and indulgences. Gluttony reinforces laziness, as excess dulls the soul and reduces motivation for spiritual growth. Laziness, in turn, can lead to lust, as stagnant energy seeks outlets through intense sensual pleasures, and lust can reignite envy as we compare our sex or romantic lives with those of others, thus completing the vicious cycle. Cayce saw this cycle as a downward spiral that pulls the soul into ever lower vibrations until it almost completely loses touch with its original divine nature. The most insidious thing about this cycle is that it operates largely unconsciously. A person may be working diligently to overcome a specific sin, unaware that others are secretly sabotaging their transformation efforts. It's like trying to clean a house while hidden leaks in the walls keep re-soiling everything. This is one reason so many people struggle for years with the same destructive patterns without achieving lasting change. They're attacking the symptoms rather than understanding the whole system. But here is Cayce's most powerful revelation on this subject. Just as sins reinforce each other, virtues also operate in mutually reinforcing cycles. When we genuinely conquer one sin through the practice of the corresponding virtue, we create a crack in the entire system that allows light to enter and begin to dissolve all other dark patterns. It's like lighting a candle in a dark room. The light not only eliminates the darkness where it exists, but allows us to see and eliminate all other sources of darkness. Every inner victory, no matter how small, sends waves of transformation through our entire energetic system. Forgiveness, which dissolves anger, also strengthens the humility that defeats pride. Gratitude, which heals envy, also fuels the generosity that overcomes greed. Discipline, which overcomes laziness, also strengthens the moderation that controls gluttony. Cayce taught that the soul awakened to this truth can use any virtue as a lever to completely transform its spiritual nature, creating a chain reaction of illumination that can no longer be stopped. In the mystical depths of his psychic readings, Edgar Cayce unveiled one of the most hopeful and transformative spiritual laws in all of existence. For every destructive force operating in the universe, there is always a corresponding constructive force of equal or greater power. This means that no matter how deeply the 7 deadly sins have taken root in our soul, there is always a path back to the light through the conscious application of the correct spiritual antidotes. These antidotes are not just moral concepts or well-intentioned suggestions, they are fundamental cosmic laws that, when applied with understanding and persistence, literally restructure the soul's energy field. Against destructive anger, the ultimate antidote is genuine forgiveness. But Cayce revealed that true forgiveness is not an isolated act of goodwill. It is a complete alchemical transmutation of angry energy into compassionate understanding. When we genuinely forgive, we are not only releasing the other from our condemnation, we are literally transforming the energetic currents of anger into bridges of light that reconnect us with our divine nature. Forgiveness dissolves the vibratory chains that bind us to cycles of resentment and frees our soul to soar once again in the higher dimensions of love. Against the envy that extinguishes our inner light, the cosmic antidote is sacred gratitude for all that we are and all that we have. Cayce taught that authentic gratitude acts like a spiritual magnet that not only connects us to the blessings already present in our lives, but also magnetizes even greater blessings from the universe. When we practice deep gratitude for the unique path our soul has chosen, for the specific combination of gifts and challenges we have been given, for the sacred opportunity to be alive at this moment in cosmic history, we create an energetic field of abundance around us that makes envy literally impossible. Against the gluttony that imprisons us in dense matter, the liberating antidote is conscious moderation in all areas of life. But this moderation is not painful deprivation or a rigid denial of natural pleasures. It is the wisdom of the soul that consciously chooses what truly nourishes both body and spirit. Caycean moderation is an act of profound self-love that recognizes our body as a sacred temple of the soul, deserving of loving care but not destructive indulgence. It is finding the perfect balance where we honor the body's legitimate needs without allowing it to dominate our spiritual consciousness. Against the laziness that stagnates our evolution, the dynamic antidote is loving discipline, born from a passion for our divine mission. Cayce clearly distinguished between discipline based on fear, which creates resistance and eventual rebellion, and discipline based on love, which generates sustainable energy and joy and growth. When we rediscover our sacred purpose in this incarnation, when we reconnect with the inner fire that brought us here, discipline transforms into natural devotion. We don't need to force ourselves to grow. We become magnetic to growth. Against the pride that isolates us from divine grace, the transformative antidote is the humility that recognizes our true greatness as children of the Creator. Caycean humility is not self-abasement or false modesty. It is the joyful recognition that our magnificence comes from our conscious connection with the infinite source of all magnificence. When we understand that we are channels through which the divine expresses itself, we become simultaneously more humble and more powerful. True humility makes us transparent to the flow of grace, allowing our light to shine unhindered by the ego. Against the greed that corrupts the flow of energy, the liberating antidote is generosity, which connects us with infinite cosmic abundance. But Cayce revealed that authentic generosity goes far beyond giving money or material goods. It is a fundamental attitude of openness and trust in life. It is the willingness to share our gifts, our time, our attention, our love, our wisdom, our vital energy with all those who cross our path. True generosity is a state of being that recognizes that the more we give of what truly matters, the more we receive in all dimensions of existence. We have reached the most crucial moment of this entire revelation, the understanding that each soul, at every moment of its existence, faces the most fundamental choice it can make. Edgar Cayce saw the 7 deadly sins not as divine condemnations or irreparable flaws of human nature, but as sacred trials that our souls consciously chose to face in this particular incarnation. It is as if before birth, our eternal consciousness looked out into the vastness of the cosmos and said, "I choose to descend into that dense world of dualities to prove that light can conquer any darkness, that love can transform any hate, that the soul can transcend any material limitation." Each sin conquered represents much more than a simple moral correction or an improved habit. It is an epic victory of light over the primordial forces of darkness that exist on all planes of cosmic reality. When we master our anger through forgiveness, we are not only improving our temperament, we are demonstrating to the entire universe that the power of love is superior to the power of destruction. When we transform our envy into gratitude, we are proving that spiritual abundance is greater than any material scarcity. Each inner achievement elevates not only our own soul but also contributes to the elevation of the collective consciousness of all humanity. The most beautiful thing about Cayce's vision is that he never saw falls and failures as evidence of our spiritual inadequacy, but as sacred opportunities for learning and strengthening. It's like spiritual training, where each challenge overcome prepares us for even greater ones. Each victory achieved gives us confidence and wisdom for more important battles. Temporary falls are not definitive failures. They are precious insights into where we still need to grow, loving indications from the universe about which spiritual muscles still need to be developed. The truly awakened soul understands that it is participating in a cosmic game far greater than its individual experience. Each choice between a sin and its corresponding virtue is a vote in the great universal referendum between light and darkness, between love and fear, between evolution and stagnation. When we choose forgiveness over anger, we are not only healing our own wound, we are sending waves of healing through the collective energy field of humanity. Our personal victory becomes a victory for all conscious beings everywhere. Cayce revealed that there comes a moment in every soul's journey when it awakens to this cosmic responsibility and consciously chooses to dedicate its entire existence to the triumph of light over the darkness within itself. This is the moment of true spiritual birth, when we cease to be unconscious victims of destructive forces and become conscious warriors of the light. From that moment on, every challenge becomes an opportunity, every obstacle a stepping stone, every tempting sin a chance to demonstrate our spiritual mastery. Cayce's final message on the 7 deadly sins is a declaration of unshakable faith in the human soul's ability to transcend any limitation, transform any darkness, and reach any spiritual height. No matter how deeply destructive patterns have become ingrained in our consciousness, no matter how many times we have failed in the past, no matter how impossible transformation may seem, the soul always has the power to choose the light. And each time it makes this choice, the entire universe celebrates, for yet another divine spark has remembered its true nature and chosen to shine with all its original magnificence. If these revelations about the 7 deadly sins touch the deepest chords of your soul, if you felt the inner recognition of truths you've always known but never heard expressed so clearly, then the time has come to act. Don't let this understanding become just another intellectual knowledge stored in your mental library. Let it become the catalyst for the most profound transformation in your life, the beginning of your conscious journey toward complete spiritual mastery. Share this video with someone you know who is struggling with these same dark forces, for sometimes a soul needs to hear these truths through the voice of someone they love to finally awaken to their own capacity for transformation. Leave a comment below telling us which of these 7 sins you recognize as your greatest spiritual challenge at this point in your journey. Your vulnerability and honesty may be just the inspiration someone else needs to find the courage to face their own inner demons. Remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, as this is just a small sample of the transformative revelations Edgar Cayce left for humanity. Together, we can form a community of awakened souls dedicated to overcoming the forces that want to keep humanity trapped in darkness and paving the way for a new era of light, love, and heightened consciousness on our planet.